The whole series, as a whole, is a really interesting challenge. We decided to start with the Hull C because it's the middle ground in the whole fleet.
So the LC is a cargo ship that we sold a long time ago. This is a ship that looks relatively simple from the exterior, but that is a ship that is collapsing on itself and can deploy as well, that is supposed to land and support a lot of cargo.
When it's in its cargo mode, it basically has long struts that can fold out, and the ship basically doubles in size.
So these basically fold out like a fan, and you can fit a ton of cargo on there as you're flying along. The only downside to that is the fact you can't land when the struts are out, obviously, because there's 4 of them, and you'd need like ridiculously long landing gear otherwise.
If you have some cargo and want to connect to a station, at some point it will be possible to connect with a docking collar. You can take containers from a station, from planets as well, obviously, and then you can go to different parts of the galaxy or of the solar system to sell your stuff. The issue with this ship is that at first, when we sold it, we've shown some animation of it collapsing on itself. This is one of the most complex parts of any ship in the game right now. The cargo spindle in the middle, this is supposed to deploy in a specific way.
It presented its subset of challenges of, really, we've got this moving ship that can kind of move on itself, right? So we've never done that before, so that's kind of kicked off a whole sprint to obviously kind of make that possible. You have to move vis areas, you have to move lighting, you have to move collision dynamically in the ship. So that's incredibly challenging to do, but it's going to serve its purpose because then that's enabled us to do stuff on the Pioneer, which we wanted to do, right? So we're always thinking about this stuff as we're doing it. We're not doing it just for one ship. Does that make sense?
We have what we call physics read. Until now, we never had interior physics reads that were moving into each other. With this animation, it meant that everything was going inside and there was only the room for 2 people at the front of the ship and nothing else at all. So we had some room at least to have like some beds and some place to live, some place to go outside, but also some place to put the components. Like if you have some mechanical issue in space, you can still work on the engine, work on the gravity generator and other parts like this. Once this was done, obviously the ship got bigger, and once the ship got bigger, we had to ask ourselves some questions like, do we put some stairs like we planned at the start? Do we put a lift? Do we put different parts? And so we tried different layout. Most importantly, we had to make a layout that will work for other ships in the series. On top of that, this is a cargo ship. This is a space truck, basically. It's not a ship that you can really defend yourself with. You have some remote turrets, you have some guns at the front, but you need to plan an escort to go through the universe without any issues.
When you look at it, it looks like a Misc ship. Like, you know, that's kind of, you know, the sort of primary goal of the ship guys, to make sure it sort of gels with the other ships in that manufacturer. So, you know, when you see it flying along, you know it's a Misc ship, and you know it's got this kind of stuff inside it, and you know you sort of know how to use it, kind of thing. Graham's done a really nice job on the exterior as well. Like the struts on the arms are crazy complicated to do. Like the mechanism for that is really insane. So yeah, in the interior for the Hull C, like I quite like the sort of engine room at the back, just because it sort of gave me the rear portion of the ship doesn't have it didn't have any concepts or anything, so I basically took the shape that Graham had sort of carved out from the exterior, and it put some like crazy 3-tier engine bay in it, which you know, it looks quite interesting. The bottom area is just sort of arc gubbins, effectively. So you've got these large kind of pulses that go to the engines, and then you've got a sort of lift that takes you to a component floor with, you know, power, shields, gravity generator and all that sort of stuff. And then the top floor is just like an external sort of airlock out to the back of the ship, with a little sort of like viewing area that you can stand on if you need to check the engines and stuff. But yeah, that was it got considerably larger than the like the designer's block out was like a tiny little box for the back of the ship, and I managed to wrangle some, you know, massive 3-tier sort of area. So yeah, push it as far as you can. But luckily I had sort of Nate's art direction to sort of pull me back a bit, because I quite like colour, so I was sort of throwing in a lot of very heavy colours, and he was just like, you know, calm it down, which was quite nice.
It's got a lot of cool things about it. My personal favourite thing about the whole ship is there's the habitational area on the top of the front of the ship, and the guys have put in this wicked little kind of slat window that outlooks into the folding arms section. So you can kind of sit there, and when the ship deploys, you can just appreciate this beautiful kind of unfolding, slow, deliberate kind of movement to it, almost kind of like 2001 rotation. Does that make sense? That is incredibly cool to look at, and I think it's going to be very cool to see people kind of latching on cargo and stuff onto those arms from that window in specific.
You can feel a lot of Misc intentions in the ship. This is older, but this is still a Misc ship.
The Misc style itself is very kind of clean and clinical in that respect. Like the walls don't have any of the, you know, the fluffy pads or pillows and stuff that the like Retaliator and stuff has.
We already had a very established kind of style between the Freelancer and the Starfarer, so it's really kind of taking that should we say that foundation from those ships and really kind of building upon it. So the development cycle is fairly kind of painless now with Misc ships. It's we can kind of, you know, they come in and we're pretty efficient on the production side of actually developing them.
When I'm making a ship, I just try and look at all the other ships in the range and then just try and take design cues from each of them and fit it together so that they all look like they've all come from the same factory, basically, or they at least had the same designers on them.
The Hull C has completed the final modeling and surfacing stage of final art and is now being tended to by multiple teams working on animations, UI, audio, and tech art. Once work on the ship is complete, the resources and practices learned here will be applied to the other 4 variants of the Hull lineup. Just thinking about it brings a smile to my face. Trust me, it's there, under all this hair. Before